The Sikha we will be learning is the second Sikha to Parshas Terumah in Chelik Chavav of Lekutei Sichos. It talks about the Oren and the Kapeiros. In Parshat Terumah, the Torah talks about how to make the Oren, what was the Oren, how they made it, the size of the Oren, etc., etc. Then the pasuk says, "V'nasata el Oren eis ha'edus asheret enolecha." You shall put into the Oren the edus, the testimony that I will give you, which means, as Asher says, it means the Torah, which really means the luchas. So the pasuk says, after it describes the Oren, it says you should put the luchas into the Oren. And then the pasuk continues by the kapeiros. The kapeiros is the cover on top of the Oren. The Torah describes you should make a kapeiros, the size of it. Then the Torah says, "Vasisa shnayim kruvim zov." There could be two golden kruvim made. Mikshatas eisa mishnek tzesa kapeiros. From the kapeiros itself, they knocked out golden two kruvim. Then the pasuk continues, and the pasuk says that the kruvim should spread out their wings. Their wings spread out to higher to up. They cover with their wings on the kapeiros. And then the pasuk says again, when the satas kapeiros al oren l'maylo, put the kapeiros on the oren, ve'el oren teaching the seder shashet alecho. And to the oren you should put in the edus which I'll give to you. And Rashi Taka says, lo yadaiti lo manichpo. I don't know why the Torah repeats it again. It says already before, when the satel oren the sedus. And Rashi says it comes to teach us that you should put the luchas into the oren when it's only an oren without the kapeiros. First you put the luchas in, then you could put the kapeiros on. In other words, Rashi learns that you first put in, you make the oren without the kapeiros, don't cover it with the kapeiros, put the luchas in, and then you cover it with the kapeiros. That's how Rashi learns. So the Rabbi here quotes like this: if impossible when the satas kapeiros al oren l'mayla, you should put the kapeiros on top of the oren, the oren teaching us edus ashret in alecho, and to the oren you shall put the edus, the luchas which I will give to you. Is do a plukte zwischen Rashi and the Ramban. There's an argument between Rashi and the Ramban. Rashi sagt, Rashi, as we just said, ados was in dem posik but nichpel the tzivoi el oren teaching the edus. The reason why the posik repeats again the commandment that you should put the edus, which is the luchas, into the oren. It says already before you shall put into the oren the edus. Is Yashleim. Rashi says you could say Shabola Lamed comes to teach you Shabaede oren levade, when it's only an oren belay kapeiros without the cover. Yitin chilo edus l'feicha. First you should put the edus, which is the testimony from the luchas. V'chakach yitin kapeiros olam. Then you could put the kapeiros on top. The Ramban stellt sich auf Rashi. Ramban quotes Rashi and fragt, he asks, if this is a commandment, mashmoe yeser, I would say it means more, it seems to tell us more, the opposite. After you put the kapeiros on, then you should put the luchas, the edus, into the oren. In other words, first make the whole oren. The whole oren is made of the oren and the top. So make a full oren, make the oren, cover it. Now that the oren is complete, now obviously you're going to take off the kapeiros, put the luchas in. But the luchas should be put in after the oren is finished, which is, according to the Ramban, after the kapeiros is put on already. Ki oren yikori gamba yesa kapeiros, because when the kapeiros is on, it's called oren. Now the girsa here is, it's also called oren when the kapeiros is on, but Rebbe says not a 7. That's in the Ramban, but other maforshim, when they quote the oren, they quote the Ramban, they don't use the word gam. But the idea is the same, that the Ramban says, when is it called oren? If it has the kapeiros. Das heißt, that means like this. Later Rashi werder oren levade on the kapeiros angerufen oren. According to Rashi, the oren itself, without the kapeiros, without that cover on top, is called oren. Und the Riber, therefore Rashi learns, b'shas steht v'la oren titan edus, that you should put the edus, the luchas, into the oren. What does it mean? In the oren levade. In the oren itself, below kapeiros. Since Rashi learns that the oren is without the kapeiros, and it says put it into the oren, that means put it in before the kapeiros is on. Put it in the oren. Schenkelik in Ramban. But according to the Ramban, as oren yikore b'yesa kapeiros olav, that oren is called oren only when the kapeiros is on top. Kemen nit sagen as a tzivu is beloshen velcher is mashme yesed lehepech. You can't say it means mashme the opposite, but it means it's mashme yesed more the opposite than Rashi. Rashi says, tells you that you should put the luchas in before the kapeiros, and he says it means the opposite. Since it says you should put it in the oren, and the Rabban holds that the oren is only considered the oren if it has the top, and then it says put the luchas into the oren, so it must be after the top is there already. So it's a machlekes and Rashi and the Rabban. Yeshleima the Rebbe, you could say das is niter achilik in them shem oren, or this is achilik la'aloch in them geder oren v'kaperes. That it's not only a machlekes when the oren gets the title oren, but it's also a chilik, a difference in halacha, what the concept, the gather of the oren is, which and the kaperes, what they are, according to the Ramban. There's a difference in halacha, certain dinim. It means like this: Ledas Ramban is a kaperes aprat v'chilik from the oren. According to Ramban, the kaperes is only a detail, a part of the oren. Und dafke b'shas the oren likte from the kaperes likte from oren is the oren mishlamusi. Only when the kaperes is put on, then the oren is a complete oren. Yeshleimer, the Rebbe says as an example, shall derech like Hibam Oren Gufe was a gemar given for Sholish Tevis. Rashi says, how do they make the oren? It says the oren is made of wood, covered inside and outside with gold. So Rashi says, how do they do it? They made 3 orens, 3 arenas, 2 from gold, 1 from wood. The one gold was wide, bigger a little bit than the wooden one. Then the wooden one. Then you had another gold one, which is smaller than the wooden one. And what did they do? They took the wood, put it into the bigger golden one, and then after you put the wooden in, they put a smaller golden in. So now you have it made from wood, covered from outside and inside from gold. So here you have made up of 3 parts. And only when you have all 3 parts, that becomes an oren. The kaperes, so to by the kaperes, akisu ala oren, achilik for the oren. Kaperes is the cover of the oren. That means it's part of the oren. The oren is the kela that has upon it also a cover. So the cover is part of the oren. Just like the 3 parts of the oren together make one oren, so here also the oren and the kaperes make the oren. So the kaperes is part of the oren. Only das Rashi is the kaperes hakeli b'fnei atzmi. According to Rashi, the kaperes, the cover is a separate vessel. So it's not as mekemo is even oren. Where is the place of this vessel? On top of the oren. That's its place, but that's not part of the oren. And Rebbe said it's negei la'aloche. What's la'aloche? We find this svara concerning halacha. The Rakachobra says like this: as from them what the Gemara roofed on them kaperes kele. We find in the Gemara, in Sukkah, the Gemara calls the oren keli. The Gemara uses a loshon when we want to learn the oren from something else. So the Gemara says, "Ain't done in kelim hechshe kele." We can't learn out something by the oren which is a kele from something else which is not a real kele, only a preparation for kele. But anyway, the bottom line is that the Gemara calls the oren kele. Now, from the Poshteten Teres Kelim, it says, the fish in Nemer kaperes, since it says kaperes, which means the cover, yochel yakisa loren. So we think that the kaperes is, all it is a cover to the oren. Talmud Leimer kaperes. It's a kaperes loren. It's a kaperes of the oren. The en kisa loren. It's not a cover to the oren. So see number 1 that the Gemara calls it kele. The kaperes is called a kele. In Teres Kelim it says it's not a cover to the oren. It's a kaperes. So the Rakachova says, is moving for that. We understand that the kaperes lehaverag b'shvukisur. The kaperes was not only as a cover, it's as an entity for itself. Like tzarich la'nichi alorim. Where do you put it? You put it on dorim. But if he said nafk min al-alochas, here we come in a different alocha. The Rakachova bring dort, and Rakachova says poshnegei in certain dinim. Which din? He says like this: the kaperes aklei shores machmas hazor shal yom kippurim. He said the kaperes is a separate kela. It's not a kela, only a kela. It's a klei shores. Klei shores means any vessel in the Beis Hamikdash which was shores, which was used for some avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, which is called the klei shores. The kaperes was also a klei shores because it was used on Yom Kippur when the Kohen Gadol would go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim and had to sprinkle the blood, had to sprinkle it on top of the kaperes. So if the kaperes is a separate kela, and a separate kela, not stomach kela, but a klei shores, the kaperes aimeshel tzibur. So the kaperes has to be bought by the money of the public. Nicht made from a yochet kosev. You can't have belonging, or it's made by an individual person. You can't connect it to an individual. It's part, like any klei shores of the Beis Hamikdash, belongs to the community, and you can't say it belongs to a specific person or be miyachasid, related to a separate specific person. So that's because it's for klei shores. Mashenken der Oren hat kein klei shores. The Oren doesn't have it in a klei shores. It wasn't used for any aveda. Und der Frage findet man das bei der Morgen steht bei Jas Bezala, not by them Kaperes. By the Oren it has Bezala made it. We refer to Bezala, by the Kaperes it doesn't say that. So here we see that The Oren seemingly could have a connection to an individual. The Kaperes, if it would be part of the Oren, then it also can belong to an individual. But it's not. It's a Kela and it's a Klei, so it has a din of a Klei. But that's sort of called Terashe, that it's a separate Kela. You can bring another difference in Locha between these two ways. Number one, in the Kavona Lishmo, the Kavona, the intentions a person has to have Lishmo for the sake of the mitzvah, for the sake of the doing it for the Eibishter, that we find by the Mishkan. It means like this. The Eisa Kaperes am gedarf mechaben sein b'asiyas Kaperes Lishmo. Anytime the people who made these Kalim had to have a mind that they're doing it for the purpose of this and this Kalim. By the Kaperes, also they had to have a mind, Lishmo, for whatever the purposes is. What is this? Moshe, by the Shulchan, when they were making the Shulchan, they had to have mind, they're making it L'Shem the Shulchan. By the Menorah, they had to have mind, they have to make it L'Shem Menorah. By the Kaperes, they also had the mind Lishmo. But what is the Lishmo of? L'das Ramban kumtais, according to the Ramban that comes out, that also gedarf gekont sein, nichlam the kavanah L'Shem Oren. That what kavanah did you have to have when you make the Kaperes? If the Kaperes is part of the Oren, when you made the Kaperes, you had to have in mind, you're doing it for the Oren. The Rebbe has a question mark. It means it could be two ways. Or you had to have the kavanah by the Kaperes for the Oren, because it's part of the Oren. Or if you have a kavanah for making for the Kaperes, it's also good, because it is the Kaperes. But you could also have it to cover the Oren. If it's part of the Oren, you could have kavanah, I'm doing it for the Oren. With das Rashi, according to Rashi, it seems, the kavanah l'shmo gedarf zayin, a besondere kavanah. That when you had kavanah l'shmo by the making the Kaperes, had to be a separate, nor l'shem Kaperes. If Kaperes is not part of the Oren, so you can't make it l'shem Oren, it's not part of the Oren. So when they made the Kaperes, they had to have in mind they're doing it for the purpose of the Kaperes. When they couldn't do it, the purpose of the Oren. That's one. No, that's another nafkamina. Another thing is on emedika der isur zu machen Sachen im Tabnis für Mishkan Migdash is und die Klei Migdash. Is able to get order. We know there's a din. You're not allowed to imitate, copy the shape of the Beis Hamikdash. You cannot. A person privately cannot make a building that looks exactly the shape of the Beis Hamikdash. You're not allowed to. And the same thing with the kelim. You can't make a kelim for yourself now at any time that looks exactly like the shape of the kelim the Mishkan. Now there is a svara, if you accept the svara, that this is also concerning the Oren. You cannot make privately a vessel the shape of the Oren. Now it's not so poshut. You see in the Oren 27, the Rebbe brings Ma'ar Mekaymes, where you cannot make anything in the copy of the Mishkan, Beis Hamikdash, or the Kelim of the Mishkan, Beis Hamikdash. But the Rebbe says we don't find clearly when the Oren. It doesn't say clearly that you can't make in your own private house something similar to the Oren. But if the din would be that you can't, so then it makes a difference. If the Kaperes is part of the Oren, then what is Menever and the Misa Norman Martin Tapnis from Beda, the Oren Kaperes. So when would you transgress doing this? If you're not allowed to make a copy of the Oren, if the Kaperes is part of the Oren, when are you doing this Aveire? If you make a Kele in the shape of the Oren and the Kaperes. And the Rebbe in Oren 29, Taka brings from the Minchas Chinuch, connected to this, and then the Rebbe brings that in Teis V'Sarosh, Taka quotes there, that you can't copy. He says, V'chein ha'oren, inaba Kaperes v'kruvim, with the Kaperes. So we see there, Taka, says the Kaperes together with the Oren. So there, Taka, it seems to, so there are places where it says that you cannot copy the Oren, and you see even some say you can't copy the Oren and the Kaperes. So when are you ever on doing copying the Oren? If you hold that the Kaperes is part of the Oren, you're only ever if you make the whole thing, the Oren with its Kaperes, because it's part of the Oren. But if you hold like Rashi that the Kaperes is a separate entity, and the Oren is a separate entity, so it would seem that if you make just the Oren, you're ever on the Avera, making the Oren, because that's the Kele. Or the Kaperes with the Kruvim b'fnei atzmai, or if you make the Kaperes the top separately with the Kruvim, and the Rebbe will go into later if the Kruvim are part of the top or not, whatever, but it would be separate. So according to the Ramban, you're only able to if you make the Oren with the Kaperes, because it's one Kele. The Kaperes is not an entity for itself, it's just the cover part of the Oren, and according to Rashi, since it's separate, you can't make the Oren without the Kaperes. You can't make the Kaperes separately either. The Asborin der Pluktan al zwischen Rashi and Ramban, Yesh Leimer. What is the explanation? In what is based this argument whether the Oren, the Kaperes is part of the Oren, or the Kaperes is a separate Kele? Yesh Leimer, das ist verbunden mit dem Chilmut B'shitosim in Kol V'Sin You could connect it to their argument, what each one holds, concerning the difference in the general concept of what the Oren stood for. The Ramban says like this: As Iker Achayf is a Mishkan, Umokim Nuchas Hashchina. The main purpose of making a Mishkan, and the same would apply to the Beis Hamikdash, is that the place where the Shechina rests. Shehu Oren. The main purpose is the Oren. What do we see in the pasuk? The main purpose that Shechina rests in the Oren. Meishaim, the pasuk says, "V'niyaditi l'chasham." Shem says, "Make an Oren kaperes, and I will speak to you from there." He says, "We'll meet over there in the Kedesh HaKadoshim by the Oren, and I will speak to you from atop of the kaperes." So he mentions the Eibush as coming down and speaking on top of the kaperes. The pasuk says, and the Ramban adds, "Alkein higdim Oren v'kaperes bekan." That's the reason why the Torah, the first thing in the kelim of the Mishkan, the chal of the Mishkan, the Pashan Terumah, is the Oren and the kaperes. So he says the Oren and the kaperes are first, because this is the whole purpose. The whole purpose of the whole Mishkan is because of the Oren and the kaperes. And that's where the Eibishter came down. That's what the Shechina is, and that's why the Eibishter spoke from there. Und das Vertuf getan durch dem, was man legt rein die Eidus in dem Oren mit den kaperes. And when does this happen, that the Shechina comes down and rests there? After you put the luchas in, which means after you put the luchas in the Oren with the kaperes. That's what it comes. That's what the Ramban says. When you have the Oren with the kaperes, and the Eibishter comes down to the top of the kaperes, that's called coming down on the Oren. So we see from here that the Oren and the kaperes are one. Und wie sagt ben gei the mitzvah von Asiyas Oren, the Ramban himself, when it comes to the mitzvah of making an Oren, he writes like this: Asiyas Oren v'kaperes l'shum eides tim the mitzvah v'sniatzmei. Making the Oren and the kaperes in order to put the eidus, the luchas in, is a mitzvah v'sniatzmei. So he puts again here, making the Oren and the kaperes as one thing, is one mitzvah. Because haste means like this: as nit nor is there Oren the kelo to the eidus. Not only is the Oren the vessel in which you put in the eidus, the luchas, nor eich the kaperes and the kruvim is alavush v'keles. Not only the Oren itself is the kele. The kaperes is part of being the kele to put the luchas in. The Oren is made to put the luchas in. The Oren is the kele. Part of that kele of the Oren for the luchas is the kaperes. And through having the kaperes and the Oren, this will make that the Eibishter will meet, so to speak, down there. That means that the Oren is the purpose of bringing Hashem down, and the Oren means the Oren and the kaperes together. That's what he writes, Ramban. The das Rasha Ober is the tachlis from the Oren and the kaperes bazundir and yonim. According to Rasha, the purpose of the Oren and the kaperes are two separate things. According to the Ramban, they're one purpose, to bring the place for the Shechina, which is what? The Oren and the kaperes, which have the luchas in it. So they're all one. According to Rashi, they're two separate inyonim. The Oren is Leib the Eidus. The Oren is for the purpose of the Eidus, which is the luchas. Yes, as mucha the fun was besof atzif of nasis Oren, as we see from this at the end of the Torah telling us about making the Oren, aided that tziv of asa kaperes. Before the Torah tells us to make a kaperes, zok Torah right away. The Torah says when asata la Oren es Eidus ashret and lecho, that you should put into the Oren the Eidus that will give you. That means that the Torah, that the Oren is for the Torah. See, according to Ramban, the whole purpose of the Oren is for the Shechina to come down, and that is the purpose of the Oren with the kaperes. According to Rashi, the purpose of the Oren is for the Torah. The Rashi attached to Eidus, Rashi actually says, what does the Eidus mean? HaTorah. The Torah, Shehila Eidus Beinei V'neichem, it's a testimony between me and you. Shetzivisi eschem mitzvahs haksuvos, but I commanded you the mitzvahs that are there. So it comes out like this: that the Oren is so Leib the Eidus. The Oren, the Rashi says, is for the luchas, for the Torah. Hashenken the kaperes, v'shteit la'achazeh, the kaperes which is written after that, is a bizunder inyan. According to Rashi, it's a separate inyan. That's the inyan of v'niyaditi l'chasham. I will meet you there. V'dibarti itchom ala kaperes. I will talk to you from the kaperes. Miben shnei kruvim, between the two kruvim. Kil asher atzaba eisfal b'nei Yisrael, whatever I command you for the. So it comes out here. The kaperes has another purpose. Another purpose. According to Rabban, this Hashem coming down is the purpose of the Oren and the kaperes together. And according to Rashi, this is the purpose of the kaperes. The Oren has another purpose. Nochmer, like Rashi ala posik, das nieder inyan from nuchas hashchina. B'chal, according to Rashi, this is not the inyan of the Shechina resting. It's not even the Shechina resting, nor what Rashi says. What does it mean? I will meet you there. When I will make a time, an appointment with you to speak, I'll make that place. So it's a place for speaking, not even a place. According to Raman, it's not only speaking, the Shechina should come down there. According to Rashi, it's for a place for speaking. The Far Alt Rashi has kaperes is a kele with niatzmit for the Oren. Therefore, since Rashi holds that the purpose of the Oren is for one thing, and the purpose of the kaperes is something else, so they're separate inyonim. The kaperes is a separate kele, and the not a chelik of the Oren. According to the Ramban, the kaperes and the Oren have one purpose, and that is bringing the Shechina down, which is through the Oren, which has the luchas, and that brings the Shechina, and that goes together with the kaperes. So the kaperes and the luchas are one thing. Because of this difference in Rashi and the Ramban, the negate the kaperes concerning the kaperes, that's a chelik from the Oren or the chelik of Natz, and whether it's part of the Oren or it's a separate vessel for itself. This will come out also a difference concerning the kruvim. We know on top of the kaperes you have the two kruvim, the two edges. So there'll be a difference what they are. Was the kruvim kemazogn space for us. Considering the kruvim, we could also say two ideas. In other words, the idea is going to be: are the kruvim part of the Oren? And the Rabbi is going to say you could say two ways, and it'll depend on the two ways we said before in the Machlekes and Ramban and Rashi. The number one way you could learn the kruvim are in the prat from kaperes. The kruvim are part of the kaperes. From the two edges of the kaperes, they banged out the two kruvim. So the two kruvim are part, a prat, a detail, one part of the kaperes. You could learn a second way. The kruvim are not nor a prat in the kaperes. Not only are the kruvim part of the kaperes, was the kaperes a chelik from Norden al scale to Dedes, and the kaperes and the kaperes, the kruvim part of the kaperes, and the kaperes itself is part of the Oren. So the second way says it's not like that. The kruvim are not a part of the kaperes, and b'meila not a part of the Oren. Nor the kruvim guf is an noch a tail from Oren, punkt for the kaperes. You could say that the kruvim are part of the Oren. See, the first way that we said is the kruvim are part of the kaperes. Now the second way is the kruvim are not a part of the kaperes, which is also a part of the Oren. The kruvim themselves. So, like, I'll read it again. The kruvim, the second way is the kruvim that need nor a prat in the kaperes. Not only is a part of the kaperes. I read it a little wrong before. That not only a part of the kaperes, but the kaperes is a chelik from the mon as kela to the edus. That the kaperes itself is a chelik, is part of the Oren. The Oren is for the edus, so you have the Oren. Then you have the kaperes part of it, and the kruvim are also part of the kaperes. So you could the first way was that they are part of the kaperes. Second way, no, the kruvim guf is noch a tail from Oren. Punkt for the kaperes. The kruvim themselves are part of the Oren. So before we had the question whether the kaperes is part of the Oren or not. Now you have another shaila: are the kruvim part of the Oren? Now the kruvim are part of the kaperes. Now if the kaperes is part of the Oren and the kruvim are part of the kaperes, so the kruvim are also part of the Oren. If the kaperes itself is not part of the Oren, so the kruvim on top are also not part of the Oren. Later Rashi was held that the kaperes are bezunder zach from the Oren canal. According to Rashi, it holds that the kaperes is something separate from the Oren. So the kruvim can move nit kan prat in the Oren. If the kaperes is not part of the Oren, so the kruvim on top of the kaperes, which are part of the, is also not part of the Oren. Noch more than that. From Pashas Hamakrois and Mashman, the simple pshat in the psukim, it seems that the kruvim are nit kan b'fnei atzmin are prat in the kaperes. For the posek, it seems that the kruvim are part of the kaperes, and the kaperes is not part of the Oren, and the kruvim are basically part of the kaperes. So whatever the kaperes is, not part of the Oren, this is also not. But the father, where do we see that? That the kruvim are part of the kaperes. Number one, the posek says, the kruvim miksha mishnei kaperes, you knock them out. You bang them out from the kaperes, so it's obviously part of the kaperes. The second thing, the pasuk says, the wings were over covering the kaperes. And then the pasuk, the face of the krum should be to the kaperes. Those hays, that means the kela of the mniaditi v'dibarti, the kaperes, the kela for Hashem coming down and speaking from there is part of the kaperes. So, of the matter is the nor in the kaperes guf is the kaperes is a part of the speak, but in the kaperes itself, kum the kruvim. When Hashem spoke from the kaperes, he spoke from the kruvim. So we see from this that the kruvim are part of the kaperes. So according to Rashi, since the kruvim are part of the kaperes, and the kaperes is not part of the Oren, so the kruvim are also not part of the Oren. They're only part of the kaperes. The Ramban is mavad kruvim. The Ramban says kruvim something else. See, according to Rashi, kruvim and the kaperes is the place where Hashem spoke. He happened to speak between the kruvim, but the kaperes is a separate union for the Hashem comes to speak, like we said before, and the kruvim is part of it. According to the Ramban, he says that the kruvim is something else. This is what the Ramban says. The kruvim represent the merkava. It says in Tanakh, Yecheskel saw Hashem's chariot, whatever it should mean, the ruchnias, and he saw kruvim there. So the kruvim on the Oren were similar to the kruvim by the Merkava. But Aiden, I know ki kruvim hema. And you see it, you know that the kruvim of Yecheskel. That's why the Eibush is called the one that sits on the kruvim. They spread out their wings. They spread out their wings to show that they're carrying something. They carried the Kisei HaKoved. In Tachshav Eid La'aman, you'll think why. Tuchal Adas, you'll know. Ki royu lahem sheyiyah persek of Noayin Lamayla. It fits that they should spread their wings up. Came Kisei Elyon, because they're at the chair from above for the Eibishter. Beseichachin alo Eidus shemichtav Elikim, and they cover the Eidus, which is written by Hashem. So what are they covering? He says they're covering the Luchis and the Oren. According to Rashi, we said there's a whole unit spreading out. Is to be the place to cover the Kaperis. It's mashma from the Pasuk, covering the Kaperis. According to the Ramban, it's covering the Oren. And so it's covering the Oren because this is the place where Hashem comes down. So here we see that according to the Ramban, the purpose of the Kruvim is not like Rashi. The Mitzvah Zemavaya, Ramban explains, but the Pasuk Chazer Tiba, why the Pasuk repeats, when the Pasuk says, we'll meet, I'll speak to you from on top of the Kaperes, which is between the two Kruvim, which is on the Oren Ha'edus. What does the Pasuk mention, which is the Kaperes, which is on top of the Oren? We know that the Kruvim are on top of the Oren. Tupim were in the Kaperes. So the Kruvim were on top of the Oren. Why does the Pasuk repeat? I'll speak to you from the Kaperes, between the Kruvim, which is on top of the Oren. So the answer is, these words come to add what the Kruvim were for. Before, when we know it was on top, it's physically, we know it, Tzias was on top. The Pasuk is adding it, that this whole idea of me speaking from the Kaperes, min Kruvim, is because this is on top of the Luchas. Because he's saying that the Kruvim should spread out their wings above. But and the Pasuk did not say why Bechlal make the Kruvim. What was their purpose in the Mishkan? Why were they like that? That's what the Torah repeats. It's all from the Ramban. Now he says again, put the kaperes in the kruvim. It's all one with the orei. That's what the pasuk tells you. What the purpose of the orei? Teaching us say, since you will put the luchas into the orei, I'll give you. I'll put the luchas in there, and I'm giving it to you, so that will be the kisei kovet, the place for the kovet of the Eibishter. I will meet you there, and I'll put my shechina there. And I will speak to you from the kaperes, between the two kruvim. And the pasuk tells you, why will I speak from there? Why will it be there? Because the kaperes and the kruvim are on top of the oren. So according to Ramban, we see very clearly the kruvim were part of the Oren. They were part of the Kaperes, and the Kaperes are part. And the way he describes it here, that they were there, so the Shechina comes down. The Shechina wants to come down to the Oren. And this is the cover of the Oren. The Mela, the Shechina comes down there. The Kruvim are in a tail from the Oren, punkt Kaperes. So according to the Ramban, the Kruvim are part of the Oren like the Kaperes. Alle drei sind Mokim Nuchas HaShechina. All three are the place of the Shechina. The Oren, the Kaperes, and the Kruvim, they're all they're all one unit. When we say the Eibishter comes down, where does he come down? Comes down into the Oren. But which part of the Oren? The Kruvim. That's why he's called. He sits on the Kruvim. We're saying it's the Oren that brings him down, the place of the Luches Ha'edus, which makes the Eibishter come down. But the Torah refers to it as coming down to the Kruvim, to tell you that, and it says that the Kaperes and the Kruvim is all because of the Oren. This will also explain the difference between Rashi and the Ramban, what the shape of the Kruvim were. The Ramban learned, like as we said before, the Kruvim that the Kruvim were the shape like in the Merkava of the Eibishter that Yecheskel saw. And the Eibishter is called Yeshiv HaKruvim. Up there he sits in the Kruvim, and down here also at the Kruvim. Rashi gives a different thing. The Kruvim are given the mus partzuf tinik lehem. It had a shape of a child. It's interesting that the Rashi learned like that. Not because the word kruv means that, because you see in Ha'orah 50 the Rebbe brings when it says by the pareiches, not the kapera, by the pareiches, the curtains, it says you should make it kruvim, and Rasha says that it was siyurim of animals. Rasha doesn't say it was a shape of children. So obviously here specifically Rasha says it. Why? So Rasha learns that the shape was different. It was not like the Merkava, it was the shape of a baby, a child, a small child. Later Ramban saying the kruvim manini from Lukas machas shchina. The Oren was for the shchina. The kaperas and the kruvim are all part of that. So b'meila the kruvim are part of being the place where the shchina comes down. When they're far as I saying they're tzurah from the Merkava el Yenev. That's the place of the Eibushter. The Merkava is where the Eibushter is. This is the Merkava down here. So it's a place for the Eibushter. So the kruvim had the shape of the kruvim by the Merkava. But Rasha goes according to his own opinion. The kaperas and kruvim is nita prat in the morning. The kaperas and the kruvim are not part of the oren, and the luchas that's in the oren. The luchas in the oren is a separate thing. The oren itself is made for the luchas. That's why I said you put it in before you put on the cover, because the oren is that, and that's for the luchas. And the kaperas and automatically the kruvim, no rabazonder in Yevekit is something separate. It's a separate vessel. The farazayne and the kruvim are muslim parts of tinik. That's why it's the shape of a child, because what the kaperas was separate kele, and what the kruvim were fits to something different. And that's why it had a different shape. What was different? This, the kruvim represents the love of the Eibushter. The Eibushter comes down, and he comes down there, but it's separate. The order is for the Torah. This is for Yidden. The Eibushter comes down and loves the Yidden. That says, Kinari Yisrael v'yaveya. Because we're young, we're compared to a young child, the Eibushter loves us. So therefore, when you wanted to show that this is the love of the Eibushter, he made it parts of Tinik. Made it look like a child. According to the Rabban, you can say, because the Rabban is not, it's not for Yidden, it's all for the Oren, and the Oren is for the Luchas. So the Kaperas and the Kruvim are all for the Luchas. Has to do with Torah. According to Rashi, the Oren is for Torah, the Kaperas and the Kruvim are for showing the connection to the Eibush coming down to the Yidden, and that's why they made it in the shape of a child, of a baby. And the Rebbe will explain even more. The system is like this: the Oren the Oren itself, and the luchas, the edus that was put in, that shows on Torah. When the kaperes, where I will meet you and I will talk to you, everything I'll command you, I'll talk to you over there, is madgish, the chvivis von Yidden beim Eibishter. That Eibishter loves Yidden. But the far is Suras HaKruvim, parts of Tinik, that's why the Kruvim look like that. And the Pasuk says, I will meet you there, and everything I want to command you to tell the Yidden will be there. It's the connection, the Eibishter to Yidden. While the Oren is the connection, is the union of Torah. And according to the Ramban, it's all Torah. But this is al derech habir from Rabbeinu Bechai. Rabbeinu Bechai says in Inyan HaKruvim. Concerning the Kruvim, Rabbeinu Bechai explains that in Meirich, he goes into length as al derech ha-pshat. He says according to Pshat, and this will fit the Rashi. Rashi is Pshat. Seine the Shnei Kruvim, seine Gewen, Zocher and the Keva, the two Kruvim were the shapes of babies, but a male and a female. They came, Leidia, Kam Yisrael, Chavim, Motni HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To show how much the Eibishter loves Yidden. Kechiba Zocher and the Keva, like the Chiba, the love of a male and a female. So what does it say here? That part of the Kruvim shows the love of the Eibishter to Yidden. When the Gemara says in Yuma, the Gemara says in Yuma, Abashosha Yisrael Eidel Leregel, when Yidden used to come out to Yerushalayim for Yontif, the Galilean Lehemes HaParechas, they would pull aside the curtain. Umaran Lehemes HaKruvim, they would show the Yidden to see from far the Kruvim. Show Yemurim Zebezeh, and see that the two Kruvim, which is the male and the female, are connected to each other. They're hugging each other. The Eimenim Lehem, and they would tell the Yidden, look, this shows how much the Eibishter loves you. But those altis madgish, this all stresses haflogas hadveikes tris Eibishter mit Yidden lishim so how the Eibishter is connected Yidden with nothing in the middle. Rabbi Yochai says more. That shows when the two Kruvim are together, that shows that there's a connection between the two, and that represents a connection between Yidden and the Eibishter. So according to Rashi, the Oren itself is for Torah, that's one thing. The Pareiches, the Kaperes, and the Kruvim is all to show the love of the Eibishter to Yidden, while according to the Rabban, it's the Oren is only with the Kaperes because they're, and the Kruvim and the Kaperes, it's all one. And that explains what we said in the beginning of the Sikha, that according to the Ramban, you put the Luchas into the Oren after the Kaperes is put on. In other words, you had to open it again and put it in, because you had to put it into the Oren, and without the Kaperes, the Oren is not finished. And according to Rashi, You put it in because the Oren is separate. So as soon as you finish the Oren, before the Kaperes, you would put in the Torah. That's for Torah. And then the separate Indian they did, they put on the Kaperes with the Kruvim to show the love of the Eibush Yidden. And then the Rebbe, the Beer and Pnimis, and to explain this in deeper in Pnimis. The Indian Oren was Betechas given the Eidos, the Oren that had the Eidos in it, which is the Luchas in it, weist of Torah. That shows for Torah. It's obvious. Even the Ramban writes, As Kol Yisrael sich mishtate geben bei Asiyas Oren k'tei shniske kulum l'Torah. Why did everybody take part in making the Oren? So everybody should be zeichet the Torah, because the Oren represents Torah. That's according to everybody. Kumtu is as late in Ramban, comes out, according to Ramban, the Kaperis and Kruvim are ein Sach mit Metzias Oren ve'edus. According to the Ramban, that the Kaperis and the Kruvim are all one thing with the Oren and the Luches. Is eich the ni'adit l'cho, v'dibarti yichem dala Kaperis. So when it says that David said, I'm going to meet you there and I'm going to speak to you, so this idea that the Eibush is going to speak to Moshe and to Leib come down to connect to the Eden is connected. It's all part of the Orein, which is the Luch part of Torah. According to Rashi, no, the Torah is the Orein, that's the bottom part. The top is not with Torah, that has to do between the Eden and Eibush. But according to the Ramban, even the top, which is the connection of the Eden with the Eibush, Pashtas. But that's not the Iked. The Iked is it's part of the Torah. That means that even the fact that the Eibush said, I'm going to come there to you and speak to you, that means connect to Yidden, it's all through the Torah. It's all part of being Chelik of the Oren, which is the Luchas, which is Torah. But the question is, why does the Ramban learn like this? So the Ramban learns in simple words. The Rebbe doesn't say these words, but that's what he's saying. According to the Ramban, the connection of Yidden to the Eibush is through Torah. The top, the Kaperis shows the connection of Eden to the Eibush, because the Eibush, I'm going to speak to you to give to the Eden, so it's connection to the Eden. It's through Torah. Eden are connected to the Eibush to the Torah. Rashi says that there's Torah, and obviously the Eden are connected to the Eibush through Torah, but besides that, there's a connection of Eden to the Eibush on their own, without Torah. And the Rebbe explains the difference is like this. In Pirish Ramban, that in the Ramban we find Shmaka things, but the Ramban says there is Pnimius HaTorah in the Pirush of the Ramban. There is Kabbalah hidden of part of Torah. It is Mevayer in Yonim from Seides HaTorah Begillah. He Poshet openly talks about the secrets of Torah. But those if with secrets of Torah, you know the different levels and different things. That's not the essence of the Eibishter. The Mele, it's not connected to the essence of Eid. It's Giluyim. Chassidus we call it Giluyim. It's not the Etzem, it's Giluyim. It's different, revealed in Yonim. If you look from Giludik in a revealed way, it goes like this. Yidden are connected to Torah, Torah connected to the Eibishter. So it comes out, and the Keshet, Yidden with Eibishter is durch Torah. If Yidden are connected to Torah and Torah to the Eibishter, so we are connected to the Eibishter through Torah. That's Gilu. The Gilu is like that. That the Yid, how does he feel his connection to the Eibishter? Is through Torah. Schenk in the Pirish Rashi, Pshuta Shalmika, Rashi is Pshat. Now, Rasha has secrets also, but not Begilui. That's what the Rebbe said. In Ramban, there's Seides HaTorah Begilui. In Rasha, there's also Seides HaTorah, but that's not Begilui. What's Begilui? What's superficially? What's Rasha? Pshat. So Pshat, Herzich on the Pshat, Pashtas from Yid. Pshat is simple, simplicity. There you talk about the simplicity of Yid. But the Pshitas from Yid is ein Sach mit the Pshitas from Atzvos. The simple connection of Yid to the Eibishter. You have a connection not to the Gilui of the Eibush, you connect to the Atzmas of the Eibush. It's in Order 63, the Rebbe quotes from the Rakut the Buddha, and the Frierdiker Rebbe brings from the Baal Shem Tov, that he said, the Pshitus von Aish Poshut, the length in Pshitus HaAtzmas. Giluyim are all specific things. Then there is the essential. There's an essential connection of Yid to the Eibishter that's not because he does Torah. Und die ist Kashrus nicht mit dem Eibishten, is Hecher, noch wie die Skashish al der Torah kveyofer. And this connection is even stronger, higher than the connection to Torah. The Rebbe brings in Order 64, there is in Breishis Rabbi Tony Belio, it says Yisrael Kodmul Torah. It says there are certain things that are close to the Eibishter, the Torah and the Yidden. Between the two, Yidden are first, which means Yidden are closest. There's a connection from Yidden to the Eibishter on their own, not through Torah. The Kidua, the Pirish, is known, the Pshat was Mezok, it says a Loshen Zayar, plus Kishrin is Kashrin. It says there are three knots connected to each other. And it doesn't need train, doesn't say two. In other words, like this. Normally, it says three knots are connected. The Eibishter Torah and Yidden. So the question is, when you have when do you need, when you have three things and you want to connect three pieces of string, let's say, you only make two knots. First one to the second to the third. So why do we have three knots? It should have said two knots or three things, not three knots. Three things are connected. It says three knots. Why are there three knots? And the answer is, Chassidus answers that the three things are like a circle. You have one piece of a mushel, one piece of string connected to the second to the third, and the third on the other side is connected to the first. Same thing here also. On one hand, it's the Eibishter, Torah, and Yidden. So it comes out that the connection of Yidden to the Eibishter is through Torah. But then if the other side is connected to, so here it's different. Here the Yidden are directly connected to the Eibishter, not through the Torah. As a matter of fact, the Torah is connected from the other side to the Eibishter through Yidden. So it comes out that the connection of Yidden to the Eibishter is higher than Torah. The Farland Rashi, so Rashi, which is Pshat, talks about the Pshatus. Pashtus. The Pashtus is the simplicity that goes to the etzem of the Eibishter connection, which is higher than Torah. So Rashi learns that the Kaperis, Kruvim, and the Kele von Orden. The Kaperis and the Kruvim are separate from the Orden, because the Kaperis and the Kruvim represent the connection of the Eibishter to Yidden, so they're separate than the Orden. While the Kaperis driktus these kashas asmish v'shniden with neighbors and shalamaylam out there. It's not part of the Orden. If it's part of the Orden, means your connection is through the Torah. This is a connection of Yidden to the Eibishter, which is beyond Torah. But the Maimer Hazal, like the Maimer Hazal that we just quoted before, as machshavtan sheyisrael kodma filu Torah. The Eibishter thinking about Yidden means the connection of Yidden to the Eibishter comes even higher than Torah. Und das ist auch der Bier, bepnimis in was the Keruvim, seine Gewinn, the most parts of Tinuk Davke. That's why the Keruvim were in the face, in the shape of a baby. Now before we said why, because what the apostle that the Yidden are referred to, Nar Yisrael ve'aveyu, Yidden are like a Nar. But here it's not just a Nar, you're a Tinuk. Tinuk means a very, very small child, a baby. Why a baby Davke? If it's just to show that Yidden are connected, so any child, even an adult, is also connected to his father. So now we'll understand why a baby. While the ava atzmis von an av zu ben, the essential love of a father to a son is nicht verbunden mit dem Eilas haben. It's not because of the specialty, the qualities of the son. No, they're one. They're one unit. No. So the real connection of a father to a son is even though the father loves the son because he's a good boy and or the daughter is a good girl and they learn and they behave and they give him nachas, so he loves him. But that's not the real love. The real love is because you're my son, you're my daughter. So David loves them. Where do we see that love, ava atzmis, from a parent to a child? The ava atzmis state the giluv and the gay of mekot and dafke. That's dafke by a baby, by a child. The Rabbi writes in the quotes here from other places of Kutasiches that it's interesting. Parents love a baby. They love him much more than they love even an adult child. Why? It's still a child. The answer is by an adult child, since the child has his own qualities, you don't see that the love is connected to the fact that he's your child. Because there are other things that you could love. Where do we see that that's only because he's your child? By a tiny baby. Baby has no mileage, didn't give you nachas, didn't do anything. So why do you love the baby so much? Because that's the avatzmis. So that's by a child and a father. So the love of the Eibishter Eden is not verbunden mit their aveda gluya b'teir. It's not their quality, not because of what they do, that they, in a revealed way, they learn Torah, they do mitzvahs. They're part of the Eibishter himself, like it says in Tanya, achelik mina etzem. It's a chelik of the part of the etzem of the Eibishter. Und der Rebbe wird der Ava Atzmis zu Yidden ausgedrückt in those parts of Tinuk Davken. That's why the love of Hashem to Yidden, the Ava Atzmis, is expressed in a baby. That's why, since we said that the Kaperis and the Kruvim refer to the Ava Atzmis higher than Torah, according to Rashi, it's not part of Torah. Ramban is part of Torah. So he's talking about the revealed connection, which comes through a Yid, learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, etc. Rashi says it's pashtus, so it goes to the etzem connection. That same connection is like a father loves the baby, and that's why the picture here of the Kruvim, which represents the Ava David Yidden, was like a baby. As es zwischen Rashi and Ramban, the time was the Kaperes with the Kruvim became al Orem Milmailo. This will explain that there's a difference between Rashi and the Ramban, the fact that the Orem was on top of, the Kaperes was on top of the Orem. Why was the Kaperes on top of the Orem? Like the Ramban, it's very posh. Is the kaperes and kruvim so leib the Eidish Oren. The kaperes and the kruvim are part of the Oren, which is all part for the luchas. But the far is the posik madgish. That's why, as the Ramban said before, we said before, mi ben shnei akruvim, the Eidish spoke between the kruvim. Asher al reina, he repeats that it's the Eidos. The Ramban zogt kenal sivei, like I said before. So according to the Ramban, it was on top. Why was it on the top of the Oren? So the Rebbe says, because it's all part of the Oren, so it had to be there for the Oren. Shenklit Rashi, those for the kaperis al Oren Mumayla, the fact the kaperis is on top is while the kaperis is heche from the Oren Vayideshivei. Kaperis represents something that's higher than the Oren and the Luchas. The Oren and the Luchas is Torah. And this is the love of Debishah to Yidden, which is higher than Torah. That's why the kaperis was on top. So it won't be, according to Ramban, the kaperis was on top because part of the Oren. The Oren is a box. Box needs a cover. It's part of the box. So the cover covers the top of the box. But here it's not for that reason. It's a separate keilah. So it could have been separately. But you want to show that this is on top of the Oren and the Luchas. And the Pharisee is a making of an Oren. And that's why it was a cover on the Oren. So it did accomplish protecting the Oren. The kaperis is the kisoy of an Oren Vayitish. The kaperis was the cover on top of the Oren and the Luchas. This is eine shemer of the Torah. The cover means it watches you. So this, that the kaperis represents, kaperis and the krum represent the etzem connection to the Eden, that is the shemer over Torah. Because of the essential connection that there is between Eden and the Eibush, is einen Eden mashpia and Torah. Eden even add to the Torah. You do it's known, like it says, it says in Zohar, everyone should add to the Eden, are able to add in Torah. You give a new pshat in Torah, and the Eibush wants it. So it adds even to the Torah. So protection, that means that the Yidden protect the Torah. They make sure that the Torah is there and the Torah grows. This also is connected, that the word kaperes, besides being the cover, comes from the word kapore. What does kapore mean? Kapore means forgive for averes. What's the connection between the kaperes and forgiving for averes? The Rebbe says, while the keach of kapore al chet, well, what's the power that you could get forgiven on an avera is mitzat sheirish and shomas Yisrael, which is ein hecha from Torah. Because if a yid does an avera, you through tshuva you're able to reach a level that your root, which is higher than Torah, so that forgives for anything that you missed in Torah. But the Farah, even if he missed something in keeping the Torah, the says means there was something lacking in his connection to the Eibush through Torah, because he's not really keeping the Torah. He's the keichet so tzirik malz and chesoren bakumet kapora. Yid has this power because he's be'emes connected to the Eibush behind Torah, beyond Torah. So therefore, he has the power to fill up again the chesoren, and you get the kapora. Nochman, not only get kapora and you fill the void that you caused through not keeping the Torah. Nochman, even more. Al derech mailas by the tzaddik, by the tshuva of tzaddikim, by the tshuva have a mile over tzaddikim. So, because the Yidden are hired, if they do tshuva and they get a kapora, they become even higher because they reach the shadish of Yidden, which is higher than the Torah. So you get even higher than you did before. To keep the Torah, you have the connection to the Torah. This brings in the higher connection. This is a deeper pshat, a higher pshat in kapora. Like kapora means like, it says in different chassidus, please lechaper lifnei Hashem v'is nachas ruach al keinek. The word lechaper lifnei Hashem means you become closer to Hashem. Kapora means to wipe out the avera, but besides that, it means to make yourself closer to the Eibishter, to give nachas ruach to the Eibishter, extra nachas ruach and give to the Eibishter. That's the kapera, because the kapera represents the connection of a yid to the Eibishter be'etzem higher than Torah. So you could accomplish that. You could overcome your avedas, which means you fill up the void, you fill up what's missing, and you go even higher, and it brings even more nachas ruach to the Eibishter.